But yeah, let's dive in because we have a lot to discuss with the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion part 1 for season 8. I'm not sure how many parts they're going to have for this. Honestly, in my gut, I feel like next week's part 2 will be the end because, quite frankly, there wasn't much that happened in this season 8, and we kind of talked about a lot of it in part 1. So I'm sure there's some other things that they're going to get into when the husbands join, except for Juan, who opted to not be at this reunion again. And no, it was not because of a basketball game, you guys. But yeah, it was a really interesting reunion. Listen, it was interesting enough for me to be watching from start to finish. I'll give it that. Were there some instances in there where I saw that, there was just never going to be any resolve of moving forward? Yes, I think if you guys watched, you saw as well that it just doesn't feel like this cast is actually able to continue following this formula of conflict resolution, finding common ground and moving on, because that's the way the show is able to thrive, is when all the ladies are able to, work through their differences, move on, continue pushing through, and, having the highs and the lows, but going back to the highs again. And I feel like a lot of the people in this group have put their foot in the sand, and they have let a lot of time go by. And in my opinion, a lot of resentment has built up. And even if people apologize for everything that they said and did, I still feel like it wouldn't be enough to move on. And honestly, it's very clear that Gizelle is not interested in having any sort of relationship, professionally or personally, with Candiace and Wendy, but very much so Candiace. I don't know after this, we already know going into this reunion that Candiace is already out, right? I'm watching this part 1 and I'm looking at it from the angle of like, well, I kind of understand why she may have pulled the trigger the way she did, made the announcement when she did, because listen, I'm not sure if she had just gotten the edit and maybe there was things that she just didn't like, or maybe there was things were edited in a way that, I don't know, but something occurred where she felt the need to go ahead and make her announcement of exiting before the reunion had even aired. So that was red flag number 1. So I'm looking to see what all this is all about. But then when I'm watching, I'm realizing that, well, Candiace and Robyn's situation, I think there would have been an opportunity for those two to repair things. I just think that Robyn has decided to silently side with Gizelle and use this whole, Candiace went to social media about the whole Juan Dixon of it all and the mistress of it all. Okay. But I don't think, when you're looking at the scheme of the Housewives game, everyone kind of does that. And Robyn's been known to be online, be shady. And that was kind of brought up tonight via Candiace. But it just feels like we are icing cast members out. And it's just a matter of time before they're off the show, it feels like. Obviously, I'm not saying that Robyn and Candiace are responsible for why Candiace left. I'm simply saying that I think Candiace has had enough of this toxic work environment with her coworkers. Not all of them, but the ones. Mainly one, Gizelle. And quite frankly, I think you also see in part 1 that when Candiace becomes vulnerable, when she's talking about her friendship with Robyn and everything that's been going on, with their issues, the immediate, like, Gizelle calling out the tears and then laughing and then just being a mean girl. Now, I know some of the posts out there were like, yes, we love this activated Gizelle, saw right through Candiace's fake tears. I don't think they're fake. I really think she's just a highly sensitive, highly emotional person. Okay. So I think she was trying to be vulnerable. But when someone starts cackling and heckling you from the other side of the stage, yeah, and then now she's reactive. Now that's what everyone's going to focus on. Because Gizelle decided she wanted to be messy. And let's not also forget, Gizelle's not sitting next to Andy. She's sitting next to Karen, who's sitting next to Andy. Okay? That already sends a message. We already know Gizelle does a really good job of hiding what's going on in her life on the show. And maybe I'm using the wrong buzzword, guys. Hiding. I know that sounds like a very strong word. Like that might seem like strategic, but you know, if it's not being talked about as transparently as, you know, some of the other ladies are expected to, you know, regurgitate things that are going on in their life, then I think it's a bit unfair when we see season after season of just Gizelle sliding by, just being messy and just repeating rumors on camera. So we only see an edited version of things. I'm saying that there's probably more to the story, but from what we can see from the show, season 8 was a very, very good example of what happens when you don't have a cohesive cast. And Andy even pointed out the very top of this reunion part 1 that it was hard to watch this season, not because it was sad, not because there was, you know, a lot of intense drama. No, it was because it was just so scattered and all over the place and nobody was coming together. Everything was just so botchy. And I agree. And I'm glad that he pointed that out because quite frankly, what a disaster this was. Now, I also feel that maybe perhaps these rumors about Robyn not coming back, and let's be clear, I don't believe, at least with Robyn, that it was her decision to leave. Who would rightfully give up a check like that you really aren't giving? I mean, let's be honest, Robyn didn't really give us all too much. So the fact that she's getting that check pretty much free and clear for just showing up, it's, you know, if that's true, if they've let her go after watching part 1, I can understand why. Again, you had the opportunity, Robyn, to deal with this and be honest. And part of being honest would have been making sure that your husband, Juan, sat behind you and justified everything that you've been saying about what was involved in all this mistress behavior situation allegedly and the laundromat situation with your ex-coworker, I should say. Okay? But instead, you gave us the same BS answers and said, well, no one can ever be certain about anything about anyone. Yes, yes, yes. But when things are pointed out to her, like, don't you find it odd that he deletes every single thread of message like ever in his phone? And I can verify this, guys, because it's not that her story hasn't changed. It's that the story she has just really doesn't make sense, but she's chosen to believe it. And I'm glad that that was also brought up when the ladies were asked, do you believe Juan's story about the mistress and whatnot? Everyone's just like, no, but we are not the ones that are supposed to sit here and believe it. She's married to him. So the only thing that matters is that she believes it. And clearly she does. And she does not care what you guys think about it. And that's fine too. She's every right to not care about what she doesn't want to care about. But when you're on a show like this, even if it wasn't something that happened while you were filming last season, right? It still happened in your life. And with all the talks of all this like alleged behavior of this, that, and the other, it would have been a perfect opportunity for you to be like, well, actually, Juan and I had a little issue because he did XYZ, allegedly. But she didn't. So maybe in her mind, that's not hiding because she wasn't directly asked. And then like, so I get that. But then on the same front, you're paid a very good amount of money to share your life. And yes, it's a messy show, but you know this. You know this. And if it's good enough to cash the check, then it should be good enough when you know, shit's hit the fan, whether it's happened while you're filming or not, because that would have been a great, see, this is the thing that gets me hung up about Robyn, is she had the opportunity, and she may not believe this, maybe a lot of you would disagree with this. I have always thought this from the minute the ship was sinking, when I broke this whole mistress story, and I saw the way that she was reacting to the story and how she was just behaving, you know, just around the whole situation. But I always thought, wow, like she could really, like going into season 8, because let's be clear, I've never opted for her to be fired. I never wanted her to be fired. I don't actually dislike Robyn in the sense, like, well, first of all, I don't know any of them enough to like or dislike them on a personal level. However, with Robyn, when she and I had a dialogue shortly after I broke the story, she wasn't mean to me. She wasn't rude. She wasn't like, I can honestly say that. So it's not that. This isn't like a, you know, I don't want to take Robyn down, and I don't want to like put her through anything unnecessarily. But what I think would have been really beneficial for her and the longevity of this show is that she maybe taken the L like she did, went on Watch What Happens Live, spun it around, but then maybe come back into season 8 and really ramp it up and just tell Juan, go sit in a corner or a closet. You don't watch the show anyway. You don't care. It's the theme of their relationship after 28 years is we don't care. But if she would have came in and was like, you know what, guys, you're right. I don't care if it was authentic, just to keep your bag. Like if I was her like PR or strategist, whatever, I would have said, all right, here's what's going to happen. And I would just lay it out. You need to play on what's going on right now. This whole thing blowing up the way that it did caused distance and tension. They would have rode that storyline all the way out. She could have played it up and he could have played along too, because what else are you doing, Juan? What else are you doing? In my mind, go with it. You know what kind of show this is. You know what kind of bag you're making from the show, because look where it's gotten you, financially speaking. So, okay, it's out there. It was over. Yes. Okay, we know you weren't hiding anything. But why not come back in this season and really... I think the way they went about it this season was all wrong, and it was such a BS move to just sweep all of this under the rug really quickly. Let's get a few little scenes in there of Robyn being questioned about this. And it's just like, it's such BS. Wasn't authentic. But yeah, she had a very big opportunity. She could have stole season 8 out from every single one of those women. I would put money on it. I would. But instead, she deflected and just, I don't care. Okay, great. So if the rumors are true that allegedly you're not coming back, well, then there you have it. You don't have to share anything anymore, so you don't have to worry about it. Good luck with Glow 30. And just move on, I guess. Juan is teaching at your son's high school. You know, he's coaching basketball there, rather. So, you know what? You guys seem to be fine. You seem to be like, you are good. You don't need the show. You don't have to share anything with anybody. You don't have to answer to anything. It's just, it's very like, I would imagine very hard to continue to navigate that story. If you're a producer, if you're just overall, like, how? You give us nothing. So unless you're doing something conniving through Gizelle, allegedly, or, you know, whatever, something else is going on with some other cast member that you can just kind of grab onto, you really don't have anything. And you're literally sitting on a storyline that was like, I mean, you could have stretched that out, man. Couples therapy. Okay, think about it like this. If she had done what I suggested for this past season, for season 9, she definitely would have come back. They would have gone to couples therapy. They would have gone on a getaway, trying to get the juju back, the trust back, all of it. You at least got 2 seasons of something with that. I mean, how many other housewives stretch out one small little iota of something for like 3 seasons? And you're like, okay, are we still talking about this? Like the Vanderpump Rules, the something about her, those sandwiches. Again, this season, we're doing a tasting of the fucking sandwiches. Enough with the sandwiches. Enough with the same old stuff. Can you tell it's Monday and it's been raining here? I actually am in a really good mood. I just, I live in this area. So, Potomac hits a little bit different because it is my area. So there's a lot of things around that, when this show came out was like super important to have, just somewhere in the DMV represented and have it stick. So, and the show was absolutely fantastic. And it has been up until you see these cast members like kind of isolating from each other and not doing their jobs. In my opinion, I'm sorry, part of your job is to make up with your cast members because that's the point. You got to keep it moving. But that's not happening. And because Robyn is clearly not going to share and Juan's not going to come to a reunion even when it's not a basketball game, why are you here? I also feel, and I don't know about what, like, if you guys watch, I don't know what you guys thought of this, but I found it really odd that Nneka's, like, the lighting, the shot, all of it was so horrible. Like, I don't get it. Like, they didn't let her have any storyline outside of this, like, Wendy Osefo shrine thing that happened at the beginning, and it, like, stretched all the way thinly to the very end. Okay? Then you clearly have this other storyline in the background, and we only got, like, two scenes regarding that. It's just, I feel like, what is the point of this? If Nneka wasn't needed, because at this point, looking back, if you take Nneka's storyline out of it and you take her out as a cast member, it's the same season. No? Am I wrong? Did I miss something? I'm sorry. So why not just leave it the way, like, why did you add her? You didn't give her enough airtime. So of course people are like on the fence with her. So surely I would hope that they would give her another season and give her more story, because it's like, I don't really know anything about Nneka unless I go figure out where she grocery shops and run into her and try to get to know her like that way. But on the show, it's just kind of like, it was just very hodgepodge, splash, and then shrine, Wendy Osefo, like, that's all that it was. And then that got sick and died off, and then we're here, and then she's at the reunion. They do this, those photos of the ladies that did the iconic women that they posed as and dressed up as for the Monarch magazine covers. But obviously we remember that, Nneka wasn't invited to do that. But at the reunion, they have all the ladies cover photos from that shoot as like art pieces. So it's like an art installation gallery setup. Very cute. But because they don't have Nneka in one of those shots, they just took the shot of her being crowned as the new Grande Dame of Potomac. And it's just like, what is this? Like, to me, I don't feel like it's right. Like, they should have included Nneka nonetheless. I'm sorry. Like, I think that's odd. And I'm not sure I know it was Mia, but like, that was a bit odd. Maybe there's more to this than I know. Maybe they hadn't solidified whether or not she was a full-time housewife at that point yet. So maybe Mia wasn't going to put her in a situation like that if in fact she wasn't. I don't know. Okay. All I know is that there's no resolution between Candiace and Robyn. Then you have Gizelle and Candiace, who are going back and forth. They really don't like each other at all, and it's very clear. And although Candiace tries at the end to take some accountability by apologizing to Gizelle about the things that she called her last year at the reunion, and she did take some accountability for the stuff that she said. So to me, that was a start. But Gizelle didn't really. It took her a very long time to own up to something that someone in production had to, like, in Andy's ear at the reunion, confirm, yes, in fact, Gizelle did say this in her interview bite, and they even played it for us. And it's like, why? This is why probably Candiace is so reactive, because it's like she'll sit there and deny. So imagine if it wasn't on camera, then she would have completely. Like, that's what's, I think, infuriating, at least infuriating for me to watch, is that someone could easily sit there and not know what they said in their interview bites regarding a conflict with another cast member when they get to the reunion. Okay. So what Candiace was bringing up, yes, I get it. Some of you are going to say, okay, that's stretching it. And yes, Mia and Nneka both said that none of that's, what Gizelle alleged or insinuated about Chris was considered essay. Okay. However, that interview bite where she's saying made me, that's forced. That. So Karen Huger was absolutely correct. Words matter. And thank God production was able to verify that on the spot before she would even take account. Like, it was like pulling her teeth to get her to take accountability, even when she was found out to be wrong in the situation when it came to, did she say it? Did she not say it? And she swore up and down she didn't say made me. I never said, no, I didn't say that. Yeah, you did. But even with that, it doesn't matter. And that's why they never, it was bad if Candiace announces her departure before the reunion. Because even now, I don't care if they have resolve. I don't, because I already know she's not coming back anyway. So I'm interested to see how much further this goes when Chris joins in part 2 next week. Perhaps there's a lot more that will make sense as to why there was such an abrupt announcement to exit officially. But, it is interesting that Juan wasn't there. I'm sorry. It's like he takes in the benefits of Robyn being on the show and doesn't do anything to help her, even when he's not working. It's just wild to me. But you know what else is wild to me? Watching Mia FaceTime Ink, her new, well, he's not new to her, but like a new relationship in the scheme of like her and Gordon's marriage and whatnot. It was so wild to me, you guys, how she was just FaceTiming Ink and like showing him what she was wearing, and he was talking all sexy to her, like, ooh, your legs are out, ooh, your this is out, ooh, you look so good, and this, that, and the other. And all the while, Gordon is standing right behind Mia and even goes, hi, Ink. And they're like cool with each other, which I think is, you know what? Good for you, Mia. Mia's a real one. I'm telling you. She has the potential to be a top tier housewife from this point going forward. I'm telling you. And she has a lot of words of wisdom, and she understands this reality TV game. And she does very well with the ebbs and flows because she's honest, she's transparent, she doesn't try to hide stuff. We all saw that scene with her and Gordon. That was the most uncomfortable stuff I've ever seen. I would never want that type of conversation aired on national TV unless it was over. But like, it didn't feel like it was over at that point, and it was just such a uncomfortable. She was fine with that. Obviously, she was fine to share that. She's been fine to share a lot of things about her life. So I think now we're going to kind of see an evolution of Mia for next season. And good for her, because look at her. She got first seat. I mean, she did have a lot more to bring to the table during the season outside of Karen. But you know what? Honestly, outside of that, I don't see how much more they're going to get into next week. So I think a lot of it will be rehashing some things now that the husbands will probably be out. They're probably going to weigh in more because obviously, like, at the end of this part one, we find out with Mia's situation, because they're getting into her segment rather, that there was a situation that occurred that Wendy brought up, and a lot of people are very upset with Wendy for doing this, because a lot of people are like, why are you bringing kids into this? Because she brings up that allegedly, I guess, Ink showed up to Gordon and Mia's home and tried to take Jeremiah because he feels that Jeremiah is his son and not Gordon's. And so there's this whole back and forth about that. So that's where we leave off before next week, which I'm hoping is just the part 2 is just the final part. We can move on with our lives. We obviously know they're probably heavily trying to, recast this current situation. I heard there's a couple other people outside of Robyn and Candiace that may not be returning as well. So I'll let you guys speculate on who those people might be. But the, seating chart usually kind of gives you a nice little idea sometimes. So I'll leave you with that. Let me know your thoughts on this Potomac reunion part 1. And until the next episode, guys, I will talk to you on the next one. Bye.